The Philadelphia Eagles are spiraling, and it's starting to feel a little too familiar. After a red-hot 4 victories to open the season, the wheels have completely fallen off, and fans are not just frustrated, they're furious. The offense is a mess, the defense looks soft, the coaching feels clueless, and the mistakes from the front office in the offseason are starting to catch up in brutal fashion. If this sounds like déjà vu, that's because it is. What we're seeing now is starting to mirror the collapse of 2-mil Event E-Trace. And if you were hoping for a different ending this time around, it might be time to buckle up. Let's start with the obvious. 2 losses in a row, and not just any losses. The Eagles have been exposed. Offensively, the team has no spark, no rhythm, and no identity. It's been predictable, boring, and at times flat-out unwatchable. Jalen Hurts is struggling. In the second half against the Buccaneers, he didn't complete a single pass. Against the Broncos and Giants, same story. No momentum, no solutions, and no signs of life. There's no denying it anymore. The offense has become stale and far too easy to defend. And it's not like this came out of nowhere. Go back to 2-mil Event E-Trace. That team also started strong, winning 10 of their first 11 games. But if we're being honest, a lot of those wins were lucky. The offense started to fall apart. The scheme was too basic, and by the end of the year, the Eagles dropped 6 of their final 7 games. Sound familiar? It should, because here in 2-mil Event E5, we're seeing the same script play out again. The team jumped out to a 4-0 start, but even then, something fell off. A lot of those wins were scrappy, barely earned, and now the cracks are wide open for the whole league to see. The offensive line, once a cornerstone of this team, has fallen off dramatically. Landon Dickerson hasn't looked right. Cam Jurgens, coming off back surgery and a big payday, hasn't lived up to expectations. Jordan Mailata started the season well, but recently, he's been getting cooked by top-tier edge rushers. Lane Johnson, the ever-reliable veteran, has been in and out of the lineup with injuries, and even he struggled. From left to right, this unit has collapsed, and it's killing the run game. Saquon Barkley isn't the issue. When he gets space, he looks like the explosive back Philly hoped for. The problem is, he rarely has any lanes to run through. Last year, he was getting nearly 4 yards before contact. This season, barely 1. He's getting blown up behind the line of scrimmage, and that tells you everything you need to know about the state of this offensive front. Now let's talk about Jalen Hurts. The criticism is getting louder, and deservedly so. This isn't the same guy who was in the MVP conversation not too long ago. His struggles against zone coverage have become a liability. Against man, he still shines. But when teams sit back in zone, force him to read the defense, and throw with timing and anticipation, he breaks down. That's where you miss a coordinator who can mask those flaws. Guys like Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore were excellent at designing schemes that played to Hurts' strengths. But now, he's being asked to do more, and he's not delivering. Deep balls that used to be money aren't connecting. He's hesitating. He's inaccurate. He's not seeing the field. And for a guy being paid as a franchise quarterback, that's a huge concern. The defensive side of the ball, not much better. On paper, the talent is stronger than it was 2 years ago, but you wouldn't know it based on what we've seen. The effort against the Giants was soft, and that word, soft, has become a painful trademark of this team. In 2-mil Event E-Trace, they were soft. And now, here we are again, watching the same kind of uninspired, passive defense getting gashed week after week. The secondary has been a disaster, and the offseason moves are biting hard. Letting Isaiah Rodgers go, massive mistake. He's been one of the best corners in the league this year, with the second highest coverage grade. The Vikings got him for a 2-year, $11 million deal. Meanwhile, the Eagles let Rodgers and Darius Slay walk, only to bring in Adoree Jackson. And let's call it what it is. The guy's been awful. Can't cover. Can't tackle. Even Vic Fangio warned about it before the season started, reminding everyone that both the Titans and Giants let him go for a reason. That reason is now on full display in Midnight Green. And it gets worse. Kelee Ringo, not ready. He looked serviceable for a brief moment, but these last couple games have shown he's not the answer. With Quinyon Mitchell potentially sidelined for a while, the depth at corner is terrifying. Howie Roseman did make a move for Jacorian Bennett, but he's sitting on injured reserve. No idea what he brings to the table. Right now, you got a broken secondary being held together with duct tape, and it's costing them dearly. The pass rush isn't bailing them out either. It's vanished. Josh Sweat. No sacks. Nolan Smith. Injured reserve. The only edge rusher with any production is Zadarius Smith, and he only joined the team after week 1. He has 1.5 sacks. That's it. For a team that used to pride itself on getting after the quarterback, this is a massive drop-off. There's no pressure, no heat, no disruption. That makes life impossible for a shaky secondary, and the entire defensive unit is suffering because of it. Special teams? Another mess. The return game has been a disaster, leading to terrible field position drive after drive. Jaden Dotson might be reliable catching punts, but he brings zero explosiveness. That's why there's been a growing call to elevate Britton Covey. Say what you want about his size, but in 2 mil Evini Trace, he was one of the most productive punt returners in the league. And back at Utah, he was electric. He just has a feel for the return game, finding space, hitting lanes, picking up yards. With how bad the Eagles have been at flipping the field, elevating Covey from the practice squad is a no-brainer. Kickoff returns have also been brutal. This team can't seem to field a kick cleanly, and it's killing momentum before the offense even takes the field. Some fans are even calling for a quarterback change. There's been talk of starting Tanner McKee just to send a message to Jalen Hurts. A throwback move, something teams used to do to wake up their star players. Is it realistic? Probably not. The Eagles don't have a QB controversy just yet. But it's fair to wonder what this offense would look like with someone like McKee under center. He throws with anticipation. He gives receivers a chance to make plays. He doesn't hesitate as much. He might lack the mobility and athleticism of Hurts, but in terms of pure passing ability and field vision, he might offer something this unit desperately needs. It would also help answer a major question. Is this offensive failure more on Hurts or more on offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo? And speaking of Patullo, his name keeps coming up, and not in a good way. This offense looks lost, and it's hard to ignore the fact that he might be a big part of the problem. Would Nick Sirianni consider firing or demoting him mid-season? It's on the table. Promoting the quarterback's coach could be a move, especially since bringing in someone from outside the organization at this point might not make much sense. A name like John Gruden has been floated as a consultant, but realistically, you can't expect someone like that to parachute in, learn the system overnight, and suddenly fix everything. There are no magic solutions here, just hard decisions. The real question now is whether the Eagles are truly willing to make the changes necessary to salvage the season. Because if they don't, it's not just a bad stretch. It's a complete collapse that could define this era of Eagles football. The fans can see it. The energy is off. The locker room feels tense. There's frustration building, and you can feel on every possession, in every failed third down, and after every broken defensive play. What's more concerning is that, despite all the warning signs, there's still this lingering sense that the organization might be too slow to react, and that hesitation could cost them everything. Head coach Nick Sirianni has been praised in the past for his ability to adapt mid-season, and to be fair, there's precedent for that. In 2 mil Event the team pivoted from a pass-heavy approach to a ground-and-pound identity that changed the course of the season. In 2 mil Event Doys, the Eagles found a balanced, explosive offense that made Hurts an MVP runner-up and pushed them into Super Bowl contention. Even in 2 mil Event Quattro, they started out flat, but turned things around with a more run-focused strategy. So, Sirianni does have that adaptability in him. But this feels different. This feels bigger. The issues right now are more structural. It's not about just running the ball more or tweaking a formation here and there. It's about foundational weaknesses that are getting exposed week after week. The offensive scheme lacks innovation. There's no motion, no misdirection. Defenses aren't being fooled, they're barely being challenged. Every play feels like it's being run in slow motion, predictable and easy to shut down. The routes are vanilla, the play calls are stale, and there's no creativity that makes opposing coordinators sweat. If you watch this team play, it looks like they're reacting instead of dictating. That's not how contenders operate. On the defensive side, it's a similar story. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio came in with a reputation for structure and discipline, but so far, his unit has lacked both. The scheme is too passive. Quarterbacks have all day in the pocket. Receivers are running free. There's no edge, no physicality, no fear factor. And what's frustrating is that the talent is there. You've got players who can get after the quarterback, who can cover, who can make plays. But the system isn't putting them in a position to succeed. And when you pair that with poor effort and questionable rotations, it becomes a disaster. The pass rush was supposed to be the strength of this team. In previous seasons, the Eagles led the league in sacks, regularly collapsing pockets, and wreaking havoc on third downs. Now, they're invisible. Quarterbacks are getting too comfortable. The lack of pressure is putting the secondary in impossible situations. And when your corners are already thin and struggling, that's a recipe for disaster. There's been some chatter about Howie Roseman needing to make a move before the trade deadline. And honestly, it's not just a want, it's a necessity. Whether it's a cornerback, a pass rusher, or ideally both, reinforcements have to come. Because if the front office stands pat, they're basically waving the white flag on this season. But it's not just about trades. It's about accountability. The coaching staff needs to look in the mirror. Kevin Patullo, as the offensive coordinator, is under the most heat. His play design is uninspired. His game planning is underwhelming. And more importantly, his failure to elevate Jalen Hurts or adapt the offense to the current personnel is glaring. This team isn't short on weapons. They have a solid receiving core, a talented tight end, and a running back in Saquon who could be a game changer when used correctly. Yet none of them are being utilized in ways that maximize their strengths. The offense has become predictable, and when you're predictable in the NFL, you're dead. There's also growing concern about the quarterback position itself. Jalen Hurts is still viewed as the franchise guy, but the leash is getting shorter. Fans are restless. Analysts are asking tough questions. And some within the building are likely wondering if this version of Hurts, the one we're seeing now, is really capable of leading this team deep into the playoffs. His confidence looks shaken. His decision-making has regressed. And if the coaching staff can't get him back on track soon, this might become an even bigger storyline in the coming weeks. No one is calling for a permanent benching, but the idea of giving Tanner McKee a look isn't as crazy as it seemed a month ago. Not as a replacement, but as a reset to see what's broken and what's still fixable. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling through the sports world this week after Joe Buck, one of America's most recognizable voices in sports broadcasting, reportedly made some less than flattering remarks about the Philadelphia Eagles. The alleged comments, which surfaced during a private off-air conversation, have ignited a wave of speculation and outrage among Eagles fans, a fan base known for taking every slight personally and responding with unmistakable intensity. According to people close to the situation, Buck supposedly questioned the Eagles' recent performances, suggesting that the team's success in recent seasons had more to do with luck and weak competition than actual dominance. While no official recording has surfaced, that hasn't stopped fans from flooding social media with fiery reactions and conspiracy theories. Some claim Buck's supposed disdain for the Eagles goes back years, pointing to subtle on-air digs or moments of what they describe as undeniable bias during key broadcasts. The timing couldn't be worse. The Eagles are fighting to stay atop their division, and any hint of disrespect from a major national figure is guaranteed to fuel the us against the world mentality that Philadelphia thrives on. Local radio stations have already picked up the story, with callers passionately defending their team and calling for Buck to publicly clarify his comments. One fan even joked that if Buck shows up in Philly anytime soon, he should bring a helmet. For now, Joe Buck has remained silent, neither confirming nor denying the rumors. His representatives have declined to comment, which has only added more smoke to the fire. Meanwhile, national pundits are split. Some dismiss the story as an exaggerated social media overreaction, while others argue that Buck has long carried an undercurrent of bias against certain teams and cities. Whether Buck truly crossed a line or this is just another case of fan paranoia, one thing is certain. The story has taken on a life of its own. In Philadelphia, perceived disrespect is gasoline on the fire of fandom. And Joe Buck, intentionally or not, might have just handed the Eagles their newest rallying cry. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.